guys, it's Victoria and welcome back to FemmeHead. Today we're going to talk about the reality of being a mom and how to figure out if you're ready for kids. And this is just going to be a very real chat. I'm not going to sugarcoat things. I'm not going to make everything sunshines and rainbows. I am definitely a positive, optimistic, sunshine and rainbows sort of gal. But I think there are certain situations in life where we just need to be open and honest and real with one another and not feel the pressure to have it all together, to be perfect, and just share how things really are. So we're going to talk about being a mom today. I'm going to take my ginger chew out. I'm going to talk about maybe some of the not so pretty, nice feeling parts of it. While I was making the notes for this video, I kept saying to myself, or kept thinking like, man, you're really making motherhood look terrible or sound terrible, and you're not really selling it, and you're going to like scare people away from becoming a mom. But that's not my goal at all. Being a mom is great. It is challenging. It is so hard sometimes, but it is beautiful. And I think it is worth it. But I just want people to be more realistic and honest with one another so that when you are going through those difficult parts of being a mom, that you're not left feeling ashamed or guilty for having these feelings when like you should be happy, like you have this beautiful baby. You know, left wondering like, is it just me that is struggling this much? Is everyone else like have their lives together, and why don't I see that? So I think there's enough like positive, like yay mommy, like pretty Instagram worthy families and like baby beautiful moments out there that we need a little bit more like it's hard, but I do think it's worth it. So my intention is not to scare you away from having children. I think if people want to have kids, they're going to have kids. We all tell ourselves, oh, it won't be like that when we have a kid. So that's just a little preface of today's video. Dope Theo's awake. Speaking of child, that's about how it goes. We're gonna have to resume this conversation some other time now that my child is up, but we'll be back. Okay, it's the next day because that is mom life. Whenever Michael and I are around another couple that doesn't yet have kids, not all the time. There have been several times where Michael has said something along the lines of, I highly recommend having kids. Like, I highly recommend a kid, it's so great. Which it is, but I always chime in, yes, kids are great, but wait till you're ready. I think moms have a slightly different perspective of parenthood than fathers do, especially in that first year. I just think being a mom is very draining. And like I said, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, being a mom is the greatest thing ever and everything is perfect and my life's put together and like I've got it all figured out. Everything's sunshine, rainbows, because it's not. Does that mean you shouldn't have kids? No. Having kids is a great thing, but that transition from not having kids to having a kid or multiples, if you have like twins or something, is a really big adjustment that I don't think people are like mentally, emotionally prepared for. Like they don't know what's coming. Anytime I see like a sweet little like young pregnant lady and you can like tell it's their first, or I just make that assumption in my head, I always find myself saying in my head like, oh honey, you don't know what's about to hit you because it is a slap to the face. I just wish more people were honest with what the not so pretty realities of having kids is like. You see the Instagram post of like, oh, I'm sleep deprived, my body isn't what I thought it would be, or oh, breastfeeding is hard. Like there are more and more realistic posts on social media about the difficulties of being a mom, but I still feel like there's not that many where being a mom sucks sometimes. You know, talking about those not so pretty feelings and thoughts and emotions we have about our children sometimes, because your life changes, it literally turns upside down, and not in a like, oh, you'll never get to travel again sort of way. No, you can travel and you definitely should get to travel, but no longer do you get to just like kick back on a flight and watch 7 movies in a row because you were either like breastfeeding or bottle feeding that baby on takeoff and landing. You are changing poopy blowout diapers in the so small kind of gross plain bathroom. You are pacing up and down the aisles or in the like bulkhead areas, bouncing and like rocking your baby and shushing them, trying not to like piss off everyone around you while you try to get them to go to sleep. You don't get to just like sit back and relax. And even when you do finally get the baby asleep and you can like sit back down, you're not like comfortable. You can kind of like awkwardly watch a movie, but it's not the same. It's not just about you anymore. And I know that sounds very selfish. You lose freedom, you lose time. That was just a shock to me. Like, I was so excited to be a mom. I am so excited to be a mom. It's always something I wanted to like become. I wasn't ready for the reality of it, the shift in my identity, and just like the total loss of freedom that you get when you have a newborn child. I knew it would be hard. I knew there was going to be sleepless nights, problems breastfeeding, but I wasn't ready for the shift in my identity. I am responsible for this human that is completely dependent on me and, you know, in the beginning, completely attached to me. I thought I would just be adding like mom to my identity, but when you become a mom, it butts out other parts of your like personality and who you are. And for a while, it's just like, oh, how's the baby? How's like everything is surrounded in like you being a mom, and it's not about like your work or your hobbies or your personal interests. It's all just like baby, baby, mom, mom, mom. And sometimes you get sick talking about the baby because you're with them all the time. And you're like, I just want to have like an intellectual conversation about something else. You're like swallowed whole in newborn land. And that is your life for a couple months, more than a couple months. I would say just like the first year, you're just swallowed up by all things baby, and you don't really have the time to keep up with current events or learn about new things to then like, you know, have exciting things to share or like be a part of conversation. And so you just feel like a boring person. Like, I felt like a boring person for such a long time. Like, there wasn't anything interesting or exciting about me. I'm not gonna lie, there's been more than one moment since becoming a mom where I have had the thought of, did I like mess up my life? Did I F this all up by having a kid? Am I meant to be a mom? Is this really what I want with my life? And there have been like low moments where I'm crying in the shower or like washing bottles or at 3 a.m. and I'm just thinking to myself, like, I'm not having fun. I'm not fulfilled by life right now. This isn't what I thought it was gonna be. And like, what do I do? I can't just go to a coffee shop and dig into work for an entire day. I can't just like out of nowhere go and meet my friends for drinks. I can't set aside an entire afternoon to tackle those like life admin tasks that have been nagging at me. Moments of alone, moments of productivity, moments of anything that aren't baby related happen in like very short bursts, whether that's during nap time, if there's still asleep in the morning, they've gone down for the night, someone else is watching them, they're occupying themselves, entertaining themselves with some toys, and you just don't have big chunks of time to do what you want anymore, especially with COVID. And I don't know if like, I don't think my experience as a new mom with Theo was that drastically different because of coronavirus, but I do think that had a obvious impact because we were just kind of quarantined to our house for an entire year. I still think it's a similar experience to what other moms have. I love Theo. I absolutely do. Do not get me wrong. Like, I was really sad when I thought maybe it wouldn't happen when we were struggling to conceive Theo. Motherhood is something that I want, I'm grateful for, but I'd also be lying if I didn't say I really miss my pre-mom freedom. And I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that. I am constantly jealous of other women who don't have kids, either because, you know, they're not at that point in life or they chose not to have kids, but just seeing their abundance of time and just getting to do whatever they want, whenever they want, I get jealous of that. I think everyone should get to consciously choose to become a mother, not have it forced upon them. And I believe that even more strongly now as a mother than before having kids. It's such a big life change that I don't think anyone who isn't ready for it or doesn't want it should be forced into it. Okay, so let's get into how to know when you're ready to have kids, because someone or maybe multiple people ask me kind of to answer this question and address this topic. There are moments where it fills your soul up so deeply that you can't imagine having it any other way. Theo has recently started giving kisses and hugs, and they're like open mouth kisses. He'll just come up and go like, and that's his kiss. And just before putting it, like as I was putting him down for his nap, he just like kept giving me like open mouth kisses, and it just there's moments like that where they're just like so sweet and it's so just like cute and you can't bear it. But there are also moments where you hide in the bathroom and cry while your child screeches outside because heaven forbid you close the door between the two of you, or sobbing uncontrollably in the shower because you're not having fun with life and you don't feel fulfilled and you're questioning your decisions and wondering if you made a mistake. You're counting down the hours to bedtime because you just want a break from them because they've been a little gremlin that entire day. Or moments of resenting your partner because you're the default parent and it doesn't feel like they've been as deeply impacted by parenthood as you've been, and they just get to carry on with their life and go do their own things. There's good and bad, and I just want more parents to be open and honest. So first off, you need a supportive partner. That's pretty obvious. I think it is very, very important to have open, clear communication when it comes to planning for that first child. Why do you want to become parents? What are children going to add to your life? And never, ever, 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 ever even consider having a kid to fill some hole in your relationship or mend some part of your relationship, because it won't. Like, a child would literally fix nothing. If anything, children put such a strain on relationships. So you need to have a solid foundation going into parenthood. A child is not going to fix anything. Obviously, financially, you need to be in a good place. Children are expensive. No, they don't have to be super duper expensive, but just being pregnancy and the prenatal appointments, the ultrasounds, your hospital stay to give birth, that is money. All of the checkups, heaven forbid they get sick and have to like spend a night in the hospital. What about when they go to school and they want to play sports and play the saxophone? And when they turn 16 and want a car to go around, like, it is a big financial commitment, and you want to be in a place where that's not going to put unneeded stress on you, your partner, your relationship, your lifestyle. Plus, daycare is hella expensive. Theo doesn't go to daycare, but I just know from like friends and family how expensive it is. And I'm grateful that I'm in a situation where I can work from home with him, even though it's not the most fun every single day. But I am grateful to be saving that change. Time. Do you have time for a kid? Because this was one of the biggest shocks for me. They don't seamlessly just fit into your life. You have to make compromises and sacrifices, give certain things up when kids are added to the picture. Look at your lifestyle and just consider that first year, and honestly just going forward, is all hands on deck. Are you going to be able to take time off once you give birth? Because it takes time to like recuperate from birth, figure out your new juggling act as a parent, and so having to get back to work after like 6 weeks or 12 weeks. So obviously you want to be able to take some time off, but especially here in America, we don't. Who's going to be the parent that takes care of them if they're sick and gets sent home from daycare or home from school? Do you have to travel a lot for your job, or do you like to travel in general? Do you like to go out on the weekends? Do you like to spend a lot of time with your friends? Because that all gets put on hold when you have a kiddo. Another thing I think is important, like, no, your whole friend group doesn't need to have kids, but are your friends in a similar place in life where they either have kids already or are kind of getting close to that phase of life where they're considering kids? I really think that being the only person in a friend group who has a kid would be really hard. Thankfully, like, my sister has a kid, I have friends who have kids, but I also have friends who don't have kids, and it's a good mix. What is your support system like? Do you have family that lives close by that can help out? Do you have friends that are there to support you, to be, someone to vent to or to cry to? I think it would be really hard to live in a completely different state from your family and have children and have a baby. I'm very grateful that We live 10 minutes away from Michael's parents and 40 minutes away from my parents, 30 minutes away from my sister, my best friend. My other best friend lives up the street, and it's just good to have people that care for you and get it close by. Being home with a baby or a child on your own can be lonely, isolating, and frankly, kind of boring, especially during a global pandemic where you're trying to be safe and responsible and you can't see your family members that would normally be there to support you. You can't see your friends that are your like mental health therapy. When you think of being a mom, you think of like all the fun, cute things you're gonna get to do with them. And I remember just being so excited to see the world through our child's eyes, to get to go do like fun child activities like sledding and going to the park and going to swim lessons or going to the library for like story time. But the reality is you spend a lot of time at home just kind of alone, and it's not very much fun, to be honest. And like I said before, I think, COVID has made my experience slightly different, because I know this past summer would have been a lot different with Theo if we weren't in the middle of a global pandemic. But I also think just like the newborn phase, when it is very inconvenient to leave the house, that can be hard. With Theo, we went from the like postpartum phase of, he doesn't have an immune system. We need to be careful with exposing him to germs, to cold and flu season, to like, dear God, we're in a global pandemic. We can't leave our house. And that has kind of just been my experience and reality as a mother. I'm not saying that like my experience is super different than people that went through that before coronavirus hit. And there are so many things for me to be grateful for with Theo at his age during coronavirus, because it's not like I have to be homeschooling him or him being upset that he can't see his friends. So there are positives of his age during all of this. It definitely hasn't been like the cute, fun toddler activities that I had envisioned before having him. So while people say, oh, there's no perfect time to have a kid, just go for it, that is true to a sense, but I also think you need to have some internal digging and open, clear conversations with your partner about where you guys are in life, what you want out of parenthood, what you think parenthood is going to be, what your next year looks like. A, getting pregnant was not what I expected, and B, being a like new mom is not what I expected either. Like, I fully expected there to be difficult moments and things that you just like had to get through. Yeah, I'm waking up so many times during the night and I'm struggling to get them back to sleep or to sleep through the night, but that's just a phase. Like, I'll get through that. But I wasn't ready for, like I said, the shift in identity and not having time for myself, the loss of freedom, and just like questioning it sometimes, and missing my pre-mom life and then feeling guilty about that, when in reality it's like, no, I can like mourn the loss of all of my freedom while still loving my baby. So there's a lot of unexpected things when it comes to conception, pregnancy, labor and birth, and motherhood. And I'm sure I'll learn so much more in the future as this like just continues. Being a mom is a very rewarding thing, and it does have its like sparkly unicorn moments, but there are also the not so great sides of it that I just wish we would start sharing and talking about more, because if you know that could potentially happen, you can kind of anticipate it. And then when you're having those like feelings and thoughts of like, this is really hard, this really isn't that much fun, I don't feel fulfilled, did I ruin my life? If you know that you're not alone in those thoughts and feelings, you don't have that guilt because you're like, no, this is normal. These are normal thoughts and feelings that other people feel and think, and I'm not a horrible person or a horrible mother for having these thoughts and emotions. Obviously, it's not that terrible because I'm doing it again. I definitely had moments early on in this pregnancy where I was still struggling with Theo, work-life mom balance. Not so great place of just struggling with my identity and the balance of life. And then I was pregnant and I was like, oh my God, I'm floundering just with one child. How am I going to add another child? But it has been great because I realized, okay, you need to get your shiz together, figure this out, and like do what you need to do to like get through. So whether that's asking for help, changing how you do certain things like meal planning, cleaning, waking up earlier to get work done. And so I've made so many adjustments to my day-to-day life that have just benefited me so much. And so I am in such a better place, and I do feel fulfilled by life day to day. And so it was just a positive change. And I do feel like I'm in a position where, while I know adding a second child and going through the postpartum newborn phase in the next year is going to be difficult, I know I can do it, and I know I have systems in place that are going to make life easier. And I think going in not being naive and knowing what to expect is going to make it a bit easier. So I'm curious to see what adding the second baby is like compared to going from not a parent to a parent, because that was a hard transition for me. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope I didn't scare you too much. This is where I'm at right now. That's how I create content and make videos for you guys, is I share my experiences and what I'm going through at that point in time. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!